Sei riuscito a trovare la mail? La... Sì, sì, CLA, così almeno facevamo una... Ah, sì. Aspetta. No, no, dimmelo. Se no ce l'ho anch'io, eh.
Allora, io 20 funzionati, tu 21,
Sì?
dicono 4 senza particolare non funzionanti, più 18, di cui uno non funziona. E mancherebbero 2 per fare 60.
Allora,
Quindi ne avevamo
59.
Ma poi questo menù
Che oggi ha chiamato le mail e c'ha le mani in pasta.
quindi erano già 50.
Ok, e adesso però sono 58. Cioè no, adesso poi li riconto un attimo perché magari uno, sai che sono tutti un po' storti, per cui... Ah, aspetta, perché uno potrebbe anche essere finito, perché ieri sera... ma ieri... Cioè no, ma... No, no, ieri poi io li ho recuperati tutti. Cioè spero magari che sia un errore di calcolo contandoli. Però ieri sera tu senti che quella lì parla inglese per caso? No. No, questo me lo porto su io che è il mio, questo qui nero.
Ah, ok, quindi lascio quello dorato lì.
Sì.
Eccoci, detto che si può cominciare, buongiorno, buongiorno a tutti,
Beh, finché non
benvenuti,
prendo le cuffie.
benvenuti qui all'interno di Palazzo Bovara, come pulsante la
No,
sede
no,
centrale
c'è
della
lo
Milano
streaming.
Wine Week. E grazie per essere qui questa mattina, grazie anche a tutti coloro
Good
che sono
morning.
collegati. A questo
Welcome,
punto, visto
everybody,
che
and thank you
coloro che
for
sono
being
collegati
here
in
this
streaming
morning.
possono fare un
Since the
applauso
people
per
on
i
streaming
viaggi, quindi un
cannot
applauso.
give us a hand, we shall do that for ourselves. Let's have a big round of applause. Now, this important meeting organized by Equalitas and FederDoc is entitled Sustainability Pills. Sustainability, this wonderful word, word that we use more and more often. Well, we tend to hear it. Yesterday, I was traveling by train, and I bought a bottle of water, and on the label was this caption, "Sustainability travels with you." It's a word that we use quite a lot, but we don't even know what it really means. Who can come and tell us what sustainability means? I'm joking. We're not going to ask you questions. We'll be talking here about sustainability and sustainability for the wine universe. Equalitas is the first agency that is taking a single approach to sustainability in the winemaking sector and in viticulture in Italy. We'll be talking about sustainability, listening to the stories of prestigious vintners and wineries who have adopted this methodology, and companies which have managed to meet the requirements for sustainability according to Equalitas's requirements and guidelines in a rational way in some cases and in a more fanciful way in other cases. So we'll listen to them to learn about their particular experience. Now, do remember that behind the word sustainability, there are months and months of work and great passion. So we'll try to understand how that sustainability plays out. We're going to start the conference listening to Riccardo Ricci Corbastro, who's the current president of Equalitas. Good morning. It was September 1962. John Fitzgerald Kennedy said, "We want to go to the moon." 7 years later, the Americans had gone to the moon. In 2015, after the Forum on Sustainability organized by the Gambero Rosso magazine, we said to ourselves, the wine world, including the consortia and Federdoc, we want to go to the moon. And our moon was sustainability, a word that back then no one knew. It took us over 2 years to write our standards. Standards are rules, in other words, rules that can be adhered to voluntarily by a company, and this set of rules becomes a system for a certification agency which is meant to guarantee that those rules were adhered to and adopted in the day-to-day life of the winery. Well, that translates into a story, and that has got nothing to do. Oh, I see the president of the Milan Wine Week, Mr. Gordini, our host. He's hiding. Now, there's a lot of storytelling in the wine industry. Storytelling, if you think of it, was a mechanism to market wine, and that has always been the case. But I think that storytelling somehow needs to we need to go beyond just storytelling, because the storytelling as we know it today is not enough. We need to tell credible stories. We all, as consumers, we have become more evolved. And we want to learn about the stories concerning the men, women, wineries, and products that are tangible, that are real, and that make sense, and that are all based on not just on the product per se, but the relationship, the human relationship that exists around the product. And that boils down to sustainability, because sustainability is not just about the environment. Sustainability is also the environment. That includes the environment. Now, we're all here wearing summer clothes. 30 years ago, we'd have been here by mid-October in a coat, and that is no longer the case. We are witnessing the global warming, and we're all here in our summer attire. So that is one part of the story, but that sustainability also has to do with the social and economic aspects of the company. Our stories are certified in our sustainability reports. So we said to ourselves, this year at the Milan Wine Week, we're going to tell tangible stories. Let's pick from the now hundreds of sustainability reports that have been certified. Let's choose from that great number a few stories that can really catch everybody's attention and that can explain why sustainability is actually something that has to do with each and every one of us, and that the word sustainability is the answer to many of the questions, to the multiple questions that each of us will appropriately ask ourselves on environmental as well as social as well as economical aspects of, and especially that has been the case in recent weeks. Our wines and our designations are beautiful stories. They have been with humankind for millennia. But it's a story that changes with the history of men. And today, this story has to do with sustainability. The people who will come to the podium will tell you about stories and episodes that you may not even suspect that have to do with sustainability. And these are just 6 out of the 200 people we could have asked to speak to you today. They are just the tip of the iceberg, and that is an iceberg because it represents the tangible and material and real character of Equalitas and sustainability. Now, exactly as you said a moment ago, there are many different aspects and facets to sustainability, and sustainability exists in multiple ways. Take landscape. Landscape has to do with sustainability. If around a vineyard you have a very nice hedge and the landscape was taken good care of, that is sustainability too. So it's sustainability for the eye too, and for the photographer. I could go on and on telling you about what sustainability is about, but I prefer to leave the floor to the companies and their stories. Thank you, Riccardo Ricci Corbastro. We're going to start to delve immediately into the subject. I would like to call on the protagonists of the stories. First, Francesco Liantonio, the president of Torre Vento. Okay. Let's follow this order, and then we'll continue with the stories in the same order. And then Fabrizio Pagnetti of Ornellaia. He is the sustainability manager at Ornellaia. Gualberto Ricci Corbastro of the Ricci Corbastro estate. He is the sustainability manager there. clap harder.
Antonio
And
Cavallo,
here he is, Antonio Cavallo. He is the president of Feudi di San Gregorio.
Mi lascerà guidare la masterclass a suo rischio e pericolo, però io
Okay, I'll be guiding the masterclass thanks to him. And then Carlotta Villa, Human Resources and Certification Manager of Salceto.
Poi mi tolgo. Allora facciamo una cosa, mi sostengo da solo, mi metto qui.
Okay, let me sustain myself.
Poi la dottoressa Claudia
I'll stand here. And then Claudia
Piccinini,
Piccinini, who is the Quality Assurance and Food Safety Manager of Duca di Sala Paruta. Okay, let's start with you. Francesco Liantonio, the president of Torre Vento. I was told to give this remote to each and every one of you. Sorry. Okay. The presentation is already on screen. Okay. You went sustainable 20 years ago, and you are working with jails. You have a project, Bar Free, with the Diocese of Adria. I'll leave the microphone to you. Now, first of all, I'd like to salute our colleagues, my fellow winemakers and viticulturists, the president of Equalitas, the president of the Milan Wine Week, and all the friends who are following us. I would like to welcome you on behalf, of course, of myself and also the people who I have left back at the winery. Our story begins back in 1913, but don't worry, it'll only take a couple of minutes. Again, our story began in 1913 and brought to bear through this project, which is one of the many that we have embarked upon. And I'm speaking of these subjects in a very discreet and modest fashion. I will not give the names of the people because this is just a testimonial. This project is just a testimonial because you don't have to really spend words to describe the projects. You have to just carry them out. I'm a marketing person and I run companies, but I don't speak a lot about this project. So today is going to be really only a sustainability pill for the Milan Wine Week. But it's something that I'm not really willing to discuss because when you talk about humans and the ethical and social context, projects need to be carried out and not spoken about. In 1913, my grandfather left. He was just 16. He left and went to the United States. Now, I speak about him on tiptoe because I respect him a lot. And he really started an empire in America. He had 1,000 employees. But a few years later, when he could live comfortably and when he could fly back on a private jet and come every month to Italy to visit, he said no. He just left everything behind and came back to Italy with some of his money. In 1913, he had left. In 1920, he came back. Well, Italy was not in an easy situation, and also it was about to be exposed to conflicts and wars, and it wasn't an easy place to be. There was a lot of poverty, and he left his well-being, his wealth behind, and came back to Italy. In 1913, the term sustainability did not exist, but that was our first pill of sustainability. To speak about real material sustainability, because a lot is being said about sustainability, and I'm a bit fed up with hearing this word being abused in every context, and we should be very careful not to vilify the idea of sustainability, and I'm saying that first and foremost to myself. The very first sustainability bill is unselfishness. You have to be altruistic. My father came back because he knew that his family was having a hard time, so he felt he had a duty to come back. And that was the beginning of a sustainable journey, a very something he did without really making it known. So he bought land. My father was very good at preserving the estate. My father and my grandfather passed on these values to me. To think of yourself, you need to think of others, the person by your side and in front of you. And I had a chance to go to university, but I'm in line with their heritage. The idea of unselfishness is the very basis of sustainability. I was a marketing expert. I was a CPA also, and I left everything behind and went back to the farm. I went to our family masseria in the Upper Morgia on the hills of Castel del Monte, a masseria which was a bit dilapidated, but amidst heaven on earth. And I call it heaven because it's a paradise, because there are no limitations to your site, 400 to 600 meters above sea level. And around you, you find the gifts of nature and creation, rocks, flowers, orchids, falcons, birds of any kind. So I said to myself, in an arid place like this, I have to start a project in the memory of my grandfather Francesco, here where there's a lot of suffering, where it's hard to start a company. So that's exactly what we did. We started excavating the soil. We planted the first vines. A few of the journalists here have visited the estate. We produced the very first bottle at some point, and then I said to myself, this place needs to become something that for the long run. And we promoted, therefore, the rural park of the Upper Morgia. And I'm speaking in the plural. I say we because it's not just me. It's a group of people who just engaged in that concept of unselfishness. We joined forces to valorize this beautiful area. So all in all, 68,000 hectares were united and had the first and only Upper Morgia rural park. It's the only rural park in Italy. Upper Morgia is the area, which is an example of biodiversity which is unique the world over. It's the only example of a park around the Mediterranean shrub. To Torrevento, to my winery, and to the people who work with and for us, sustainability, environmental sustainability, and financial sustainability does not mean a constraint. It's a choice to all of us. We chose to live in a park. We chose to be exposed to that kind of situation. We chose to face the bureaucracy. And, dear President, we have to eliminate red tape from around sustainability because it's hindering us. It's a shame. So we excavated, we dug the first wells to make plants survive in our arid area 20 years ago using photovoltaic panels, and it took us forever to make people understand in bureaucracy that that was the way forward. And things can't work like that. We managed to do that, and here we are. So having chosen to live in a park, then environmental sustainability is something that you can take for granted. Integrated production, organic production, a wise use of and rational use of water. financial sustainability too. We couldn't just waste funds, we couldn't waste money. It was part of the idea. But then, once we were well on our path, people just the company grew, and we are now selling a few million bottles out in the market. I mean, I have priorities in my life, and I have other things in my life that have an absolute priority, and then there's a winery. So I wondered, how can this winery become a driver for development in this area? Because the growth of an important company that will cause a desert to be formed around it, and that will not give back to the local area and release positive energy is worth nothing. So we started by opening the doors of our company. We host events, but not the standard event. We host people that are not, not the regular events, people who are disabled, young disabled people. Maybe we help them with their wheelchairs, but they give back the sense and the meaning of life, and also former drug addicts. And it is in fragility, in frailty, that you can find something great that we, the normal people, badly need. It is when sharing that you develop. And so this agro-industrial company with over 120 employees has become a reference point, a meeting point for these people in the rural park of Upper Murgia. Sorry, I never get a chance to speak in public, and when I get a microphone, I could speak for hours about our plans and values. Okay, let me now fast forward to the latest project. Two dear friends of mine who happen to be priests, with whom I share projects for the education of other categories of people. Well, these two friends were in charge of the spiritual care of the jail in Trani. And I would often go to the jail because I had a spiritual mission to carry out in the prison. And so at some point, there were a few young inmates who were really waiting for us. Some people were serving life sentences. And we wondered why. Are these people who've understood what had happened to them and that have already served a long term already and that could be reintegrated into society with a chance to express who they are, and also giving them a chance to say they are sorry and that they want to be forgiven and become part of society. Why is that not possible? Because, you see, the jails in Italy nowadays do not re-educate people as our constitution would instead want them to. So we went to Trani and Bari, and with the help of some magistrate, Judge Senisi in particular, who helped us, we were granted permission to take out a few of these inmates. There was a masseria, an old farm, Masseria San Vittore. So I went to see our bishop, and he left, that was the bishopry's masseria, and overnight the bishop gave us the permission to use the masseria. And now we use that farm to re-educate these inmates bar-free. So there are no fences, no bars, and we are the first such project in Italy. And everything is based on exchanging looks and a handshake. And these people, including people serving life sentences, have made a commitment with a trust invested in them by a few magistrates. This is not a reason for satisfaction, it's just a testimony. 100 people are now outside the jail. Some of them have paid their entire service, others will never leave their condition, and they will continue to work here. But we've given a smile back to their faces. They have started a path, which is a community path. It's a mutually positive exchange that allows both them and us to develop. And a few are also sending home some of the money they make from their work. So it's something I don't often, I'm not ready to tell about. I don't often talk about because I'm not willing to tell about things. We prefer to do things. But sustainability is about not being selfish, being altruistic, and think of your neighbor discreetly, quietly, without announcing it to the rest of the world. So I would like to see sustainability not so often discussed, but done, implemented. And financial sustainability and environmental sustainability can exist if there's a social and ethical sustainability. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, Dr. Francesco Liantonio, the president of Torre Vento. Thanks a lot for telling us about this wonderful experience. Now, from Apulia, the province of Bari, we are traveling a few kilometers to the north, and we have Fabrizio Vernietti, the sustainability manager of Ornellaia. I still have the remote in my hands. I only have one slide, so it's going to be easy. First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here, especially Mr. Stefanucci. Yes, I do work in the area of sustainability, and that has been the case ever since 2020. Our work is a lot less poetical. It's a dirtier kind of work, and I can't really compete with the previous speaker in terms of poetry and poetical tone. I'm here to discuss social sustainability. We also carry out projects in terms of environmental sustainability, targeting the use of resources and energy. But ever since I started working for Ornellaia, there's one project that has always caught my attention and has always been surprising to me because of the impact it has had on the people that work as part of that project. It's a project that started in 2009, and it is deeply intertwined with the soul of Ornellaia's wines. The project is called Vendemmie d'Artista, the Artist's Harvest. Every year we choose an international artist, a contemporary artist, to represent the character and the spirit of the vintage. So the artist will design a special label that is placed in the wooden case of Ornellaia. But the most important thing that lies at the basis of this project is that the artist every year is developing a work of art on the larger bottle sizes, 3 liters, 6 liters, and a 9-liter bottle that we produce every year, which is auctioned every year by Sotheby's around this time of the year. And so the money that we raise is donated to a museum or an art foundation so that they can promote social sustainability in the area of art. Why social sustainability? Because in the past several years, we have involved a number of different countries. We have donated money to many countries and many foundations around the world. Up to 2 million euros in 2021, so in total 2 million years since the project began. And the most important part is that in 2019 we started a partnership with the Guggenheim Foundation, especially the Guggenheim in New York, that has developed an education project. They do have an education department. The program is called The Mind's Eye, which makes it possible for blind people or people with impaired hindsight to learn about art. They can recognize art, they can describe art, and they can also remember art. And that is achieved via a program of sensory guidance, the use of all senses in front of a work of art, of course guided by professionals who will explain the work of art, the painting or the building. You all know that the Guggenheim Museum is in itself a work of art. And that all is explained through descriptions, verbal descriptions. And that makes it possible for the person to memorize the work of art in association with a debate that is organized around each work of art. The Guggenheim Museum of New York is organizing debates around single works of art, individual works of art, as part of this project, so that the memory will be stored in the minds of these people. That has led to two results, two outcomes, one expected and one unexpected. The expected result is that we are able to support the Guggenheim in their museum thanks to the purchase of increasingly innovative devices. The unexpected thing, and this has happened for everyone, was the pandemic, because at the time when the Guggenheim, just like many other museums, had to close down because of the lockdown. Well, thanks to this project, the Guggenheim never really closed its doors. And because the project went on with weekly meetings while people were at home, thanks to the development and the digital transition that took place thanks to the donations. So that was a real transition. The digital transition that was going to happen in the coming years was accelerated, and thanks to that, we expanded the program beyond the borders of the United States and Canada, but to the entire global network of contacts. So over time, that has led to an agreement which we signed last year to extend the program to the other sites, Guggenheim sites in the world, Venezia, Bilbao, and Dubai, which will open in 2025, creating a constellation of this program, which will be extended to the rest of the Guggenheim museums. The program was essential also to act as a driver on the local basis, because we should never forget that we belong to an area, a local area. And no matter how wide our horizon can be, also from a sales perspective, and also in terms of knowledge, we should always remember that we are really working in an area that is even small in our case because we're a much smaller designation area. And over time, that has led us into developing social development projects also beyond the local community. Okay, again, back to the project, the Artist's Harvest project, which is involving a growing number of countries around the world. Hopefully, we will extend it more and more and make it known. I encourage you, I'm sorry, I just took this one slide for this presentation, but I encourage you to visit our website and take a look at the pictures that portray the project and show how we convey the passion about this project to the participants in this project, and also the role of the Guggenheim staff, which is a group of very passionate people. We've met many of them, and they are really engaged in the project, and that gave us an encouragement to continue doing what we're doing. Now, can I close with part of what you wrote? It is impossible not to leave a trace of our passing here. The environment influences us, and we do in turn, but we can choose what kind of impact with an awareness of the consequences of our choices. And that is also the philosophy of today. Thank you, Engineer Fabrizio Vernetti of Ornellaia, Sustainability Manager.
And let's continue. Let's leave Tuscany and travel to Lombardia with Alberto Ricci Curbastro from Ricci Curbastro Organic Farm and Winery. Since 2017, we have been the first in Lombardy to be certified as a sustainable farm according to the Equalitas standards. And you have a great project which is called Le Tre Vite dell'Albero, the 3 lives of the tree. I have this tough task of course, to tell you what we are doing at in this for sustainability. And of course, this was for us it was a natural approach to get certified with Equalitas, because in our Ricci Curbastro, compared to the previous colleagues, is much smaller as a winery, and so applying sustainability is often because we have specific needs or opportunities that we want to profit from at the winery. And so this is how you can make sustainability tangible and concrete. And I'm here today to state that sustainability can be something concrete and that can become an added value for our farms and wineries. Here you have a few figures about who we are and what we do. And so we are a small-scale winery, first of all, but we started off the sustainability journey many years ago, 40 years ago. It was a long journey. We are discovering more and more its importance, focusing on our museum, for instance, and the archives. And the sustainability has existed in our family and at our farm even before these 40 years. Of course, we started initially with environmental sustainability, with all the farming techniques and winemaking techniques. So we abandoned herbicides in the vineyards, and then we adopted sustainable farming techniques, low environmental impact farming techniques, and we also have some tests and devices. We have weather devices, and also we calculate our carbon footprint already since 2012. And also, there is something we want to work more on because we have realized that we have a long-standing tradition in farming and winemaking. And so sustainability has always been part of our approach. So it's no coincidence that we are working on this because we have always wanted to make this an added value, which is already an integral part of our corporate culture. Also, our forefathers were recognized for having a different approach to farming and a more sustainable approach also towards people. And so we have the Equalitas certification with our economic, social and environmental sustainability strategy. Every year we try to create something new, and sometimes this is because we have some specific needs. Of course, at the winery we have different vinification systems. For instance, we use barriques, so we use oak barrels, which we use for fermenting our wine. As you know, barriques don't live forever. You can use them for a certain number of years, and they at the end of their life, they can be retoasted, then reused, but at a certain point, they have to be dismissed. And for instance, we have used them to make tables for bars and restaurants of our customers. And since the space is smaller and smaller, so the use of barriques in this way was more and more difficult. And so we decided to start this project, which we called Nest of Sustainability, Nido della Sostenibilità. And because barrique in itself is already the first life of the timber, because we use this timber coming from forests that are managed sustainably. They are French oak forests, and so that oak is already sustainable because these trees have fixed the carbon dioxide and contributed to the planet health. Then they are transformed into our barriques, and of course the barriques are for us an economic device. We use them to ferment and age our wines, and it's a pity to have to dismiss this timber at the end of their life. And so we have the third life of these barriques. For instance, we use the slates, so the timber inside our vineyards to create these kind of, for instance, systems for birds, and so as to trigger a virtuous cycle. Because, for instance, these kind of little huts, little systems attract the birds. And so we have a very important environmental, social and economic sustainability, because we also work with Idee in Fuga. This is an association that works with at the prison of Alessandria. There is this cooperative that works at the prison in Alessandria, and they work with prisoners. Above all, they teach them jobs such as woodworking, and therefore we combined this. We propose to them to make with our timber these artificial nests for birds. So this is the result of the virtuous cycle. Of course, the social aspect is that it's not just about recovering people, but also recovering the timber, but also people, because these people are taught a job, and so they can have economic power. And so once they get out of prison, they can have an economic value also, besides a social value. And here are a few additional pictures. Here you see the project, and Of course, there is more to this activity. Every year we want to work with this timber, with these containers, with these old barracks to transform them in more and more activities or elements that can add more value to our company. So Ricci Curbastro, Sustainability Manager of Ricci Curbastro Winery. And then you have the microphone. Okay, I can keep the remote control. So let's go back to central southern Italy. We go in the province of Avellino, in Irpinia, in Campania, with Antonio Gavaldo, who is the president of Feudi di San Gregorio. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind invitation. You are a benefit. You have a benefit company. Yes, and thanks to all the colleagues who are here with me. First of all, I would like to add a couple of things to what was said before, because we talk even too much about sustainability, and my personal dream is that nobody talks about that anymore, and that we no longer consider something which is just fashionable or marketing related, because that's a bit like this these days. And I want this to become, to be considered what it is, that is to say, a new economic paradigm. And there have been three big revolutions in business over the last 5 years. The first, when the big commercial rules were found. Then the second is the Industrial Revolution. And the third is when we realize now each of us has a different date for that. The third one is about the awareness that it's too late, that we have to change a paradigm and produce more by using fewer environmental resources and protecting our environment. Otherwise, resources will end sooner or later. This last paradigm that looks a little less visible than, for instance, building a machine or a commercial route, is a turning point. And so, it doesn't make much sense to talk about sustainability because it's part of the game by now. So, and I hope, like President of Torrevento said, it's a great man. So, because we cannot keep speaking about sustainability as if it's something we have to do, because that must be part of the game. And in the world of wine, we have always been sustainable because we have always had a very close relationship with the communities and the people and the vineyards, the trees and plants. Winemakers have always done that. And so you manage the vineyard. You don't even think of production, but you think of the life of the vineyard. And so, I think that Italy, unlike other countries, vineyards are in many farms. And so intensive viticulture is pretty limited in Italy. And so we have forests and also other crops and just to ensure soil sustainability. So I think we are more ahead than what we think we are. And then as to the concept of sustainability at my winery, since I said this is not my project, it's just a company, I wanted to describe it as a ball, as a sphere. And so in this sphere, there is a core and then outer layers. The core are people, the family, the owners, and all the people who work there. And we undertake many initiatives to keep this core together. Sustainability to us is first and foremost to ensure that the people who work at the company grow professionally, feel well, their families do well, and are always motivated both from the cultural standpoint and economic standpoint. So, for instance, we do a lot of training on values, sustainability. We do the Value Day. We have an art collection of works of art that represent situations that we experience at the company, and so that the people can experience what they do also within the framework of these artistic projects. Then we we have involved the new generations, the young people of our families, and consolidate our community. So this is the core which is necessary to keep everything together. Then there is another sphere, another layer, which is what the French call the grand interne. And these are all the people of our community. And the community means certainly the colleagues, producers in our area and in the neighboring areas, but mainly the grape growers who sell grapes to us. And in Irpinia, unlike in other areas, there were no landowners. And so we have 300 hectares divided in 800 plots. So it's pretty complicated to manage. And we have 20 additional hectares managed by farmers who work for us. And who are mainly grape growers. And they have small plots and they take care of their vineyards very well, maybe even better than us, even better than my employees. And so over the last 5 years, we have formalized this program. So keeping these grape growers where they are, so I'm happy to do what they are doing, is key to us. Both from the economic standpoint, because those grapes are, in any case, less expensive than the grape we produce. And so this is important. And then the second element is quality. So there is no conflict with our own goals. And so we signed 10-year contracts, and there are also in other areas in Alto Adige and Trentino. And then we transformed the purchasing price into a sort of rent. And so we protected them from biological risk. So in case there is hail or frost, the farmer is in any case protected. Then we increased by 10% every year the price of grapes. And this is extremely beneficial for them. So every year we increase the price that we pay to them by 10%. And this has made us change the usual paradigms. Certainly, the cost of the grapes is going to increase every year. And so we have to make sure that our products can be more valuable, attract tourists. And so this commitment to pay grapes more every year, no matter what, has become a very important commitment. And these can help us to enhance the value of our property and of the territory as a whole. And also we have pruning schools, like pruning training master classes, where we have young people whom we teach how to prune grapes. We want to try to make this job cool. We work with these Pierpaolo works also with us, and Marco Simonit is a rock star and is pruning specialist. And we want these young people to enjoy life in the vineyards. In Irpinia, many people went into live in the cities, and so we try to attract young people back. So we hope that these young people will decide to work for us and ensure that this extended community can get stronger and stronger. So we have special insurance conditions and banking conditions, special contracts, and then a guarantee that we buy their grapes every year. And since sometimes people are concerned, especially when they get old, about what is going to happen if they are no longer there, they can sell their land to us at beneficial conditions. And then we have an environmental project about the environment as a whole. And it's called 100% rinnovabile, so 100% renewable. By the way, we recover rainwater. We will complete the rainwater recovery system soon. And also, we want to be carbon neutral by 2025, which is a commitment. We hope we will make it, but we want to do that because we wrote that into our bylaws. And also, we have a project about arts. We support the Fondazione San Gennaro, which is in the external layer, but this is cross-functional throughout the entire community. In Fondazione San Gennaro, there is a priest, Father Antonio Lofredo, who is a priest, but he could be from Camorra, because he's a religious person, but he is above all a person who has grown up there, wants to invest there and change there. Of course, a good Camorrista, if this is possible. He decided to become a priest and created at Sanità, which is a desperate district that gets always flooded. And this neighborhood always gets flooded when it rains all the time. So, and this is a neighborhood of Naples with 90,000 people. And of course, this is a big problem. And then there is a very high rate of crime, minor and major crime. And he has brought there Stefano D'Alisi, Mimmo Iodice, Mimmo Paladivo, other artists, and asked them to work in the church at this Sanità, in the Sanità neighborhood. And then he asked them to train people, some young people in particular. And so they have a monument of Naples that was abandoned, the Catacombe di San Gennaro, San Gennaro. So Saint Gennaro is a patron saint of Naples, and some of these young people. Together with these artists, have recovered this monument, and now they are traveling across the world to teach how you can rescue, you can recover monuments. And he has also an interesting project, which is Sanità Ensemble, which is an orchestra who learn to play without reading the music, without reading the notes, and they played for the Pope and the President of the Italian Republic. We also organized a great concert at the winery. So he thinks that art can help them overcome the misery in this neighborhood. And he is a very bright man, and he's also a manager somehow, because he said, I have to create a foundation. I'm 60-year-old, and so he created a foundation, and we are founding members. The president is Mimmo Iodice. And we supported this foundation by creating a work of art. So every 2 years we invite an artist to our winery every 2 years. The last one is a great amphora, which is also important for wine. And all around this amphora, because the amphora was decorated by Pietro Ruffo, with scenes, with situations of our people, of our workers. And then he also designs a bottle, and we give. And then we sell these bottles every year. Generally, we make 50,000 euros, which we give to the foundation. And so this is a project that is also part of this vision of the winery. So the winery is at the core, but it has to have a continuous and synergistic relationship with the other layers. And since when we started, I was invited, for instance, to talk to a group of financial advisors who started to invest with ESG funds and these kind of things. And they told me, but can you justify, can you claim? And for the first time, I did that day. So since when we decided 5-6 years ago to formalize a program that turned us into a benefit company, and this means once you write it in your bylaws, you have to continue. And so that's why this is a very important certification. Also the B Corp, and that considers the entire company, 360 degrees. So since when we started, our results, our performance at all levels have increased. Our profitability has gone up by 20%, because essentially, and for our winery, we often waste a lot. And when I joined the company 15 years ago, so we have to do this and that. And but my people wanted to understand what was the return for them. You want to go to America, they said, but why? What's the point? But since when we started to combine financial aspects, economic aspects, KPIs, together with sustainability KPIs, then we are working much better. People committed more because we have all the generations involved. And this is a very important topic. And the ability of minimizing our impact and leave the world better than what we received is a common goal that we have, that we all share at the winery. Thank you. This is a very complex and very social project. Thanks to Antonio Capaldo, Feudi di San Gregorio. And so let's continue our trip to Italy. We have Carlotta Villa, human resource manager from Montepulciano, Siena, Salceto Winery. Thank you. So you were also the first Italian winery to have adopted a welfare plan for your employees. Certainly it's going to be very interesting. Yes, my name is Carlotta Villa, and I'm in charge of human resources and certifications at Salceto. Michele Manelli unfortunately cannot be present, and so I will describe what we've been doing for sustainability at Salceto. This is okay. No, I used it in the wrong direction. In any case, so this is a broad topic, the topic of labor policies. At Salceto in 2000, we started investing in research and development, especially in the field of environmental sustainability. And so we invested to build the current cellar and the winery that can be independent in terms of energy. Already in 2014, we started discussing about topics which were quite unusual for these kind of wineries. And these topics were social topics, sustainability, social sustainability, and work. And we mainly worked on three pillars. Sharing, first of all, condivisione, so sharing at the company more information, as much information as possible among all the employees. So with meetings and occasions for sharing information. Trying to abandon the notion that all information needs to be centralized only by the top managers. Then we have the second pillar, which is the benessere, the well-being, with training programs, flexible working hours, and also administering questionnaires about well-being at the company. And also we organized occasions for meeting all together, dinners, so that people could spend time together outside the office, outside work. And also we have individual agreements, career plans that are very personalized to motivate our workers and our employees. And this can also be beneficial for efficiency and productivity. Then in 2017, Salcedo has become the first company to adopt an experimental welfare plan in the farming industry, funded by the European Social Fund with the Ministry for Labour, Italian Ministry for Labour. It's very well structured as a plan and perceived as a benefit by people. And I manage it personally, and I see that the employees use it every year, and it's felt really as a benefit by the employees. This welfare plan is extended to all employees and also employees with fixed term contract that spend at least 6 months working at the company. And when you have interviews with people to hire, this is really perceived as a benefit. Also, a person who works with us for 6 months can enjoy this additional benefit. This welfare plan is also related to our incentive plan that we had already implemented in 2017. And also thanks to a trade union agreement in 2021, we had the production bonus that can be included in the welfare plan. So the employee can choose to transform the productivity bonus into a welfare benefit. Or to have it in the payroll without taxes. At the beginning, it wasn't easy to share information about that because employees prefer to have the money in the payroll then. But there has been a great response because many employees decided to invest their bonuses in the in their welfare plan to then profit from services that can then be useful for them. Also in 2017, the company has adopted the Equalitas standard and certified our organization, and this has definitely increased our value. So when it comes to motivation and well-being and the welfare, and this involves, of course, a lot of documents, career plans, and meetings and trainings. So Equalitas helped us to rationalize all this information and initiatives, and therefore create an overall system to manage them. And I believe that this certification is a confirmation of what we are doing, and it's also a useful tool to convey in the best possible way this message towards the company, the employees, and the community as a whole. And of course, 2014 Salchetto had 15 employees, then we were 20 in 2019. And at that time, we started thinking about another issue, another topic, that is to say, to hire a human resource person who could manage human resources. So in 2019, I was hired, and I'm in charge of human resources. So, and most of my responsibility is to manage human resource related aspects, even though I have a somewhat special role that reflects very well the Equalitas standard, because I'm responsible for both the social and environmental pillar, because I'm in charge of certifications, Equalitas, and human resources. So I combine these two aspects, environmental protection and people protection. And I manage everything from the bureaucratic standpoint, but I also listen and talk to all the employees. And now we have about 30 employees, so little by little we're growing. And so once we've structured the Equalitas management system, the sustainability report since 2017, which we issue every year, then in 2021 we thought that we should become a benefit company. And so we had all what it took to make this step, thanks to Equalitas. And so we have used their metric for our financial accounts. And what we need to do is to certify, to audit, and to have a certified sustainability report within March that needs to be filed with the other financial accounts. So my environmental responsibility has to work a little faster, because generally the certification was done at the end of the year, whereas now all these things need to do much before and earlier. And in any case, the idea is to create then the sustainability report with all the metrics. I would like just to give you 3 examples. This is the bonus plan, the incentive plan, the bonus plan, which applies to all departments. This is just for administration and production. But this is just to show you what we do, to set macro goals for every function, but also cross-functional goals and goals that are related to the social and environmental pillars. So energy consumption and scraps and garbage. And for instance, from the social point of view, because, for instance, we have interns, so internship programs, and of course, when you have an intern working with you, it takes time, etc. But having these interns and having people who come from outside with new eyes can always be very beneficial. And then the overtime hours, we always, of course, if we have to work more, it's fine, but our philosophy is to try to monitor overtime to ensure that it's not too much and that it's not a source of stress if workers have to work longer hours. And also another example, which is a part of the section of the sustainability report, because thanks to Equalitas, we analyze various aspects like the population of our employees, and we take a snapshot of the organization chart. And the complexity of this system lies... sorry, I meant to say this is certainly a complex system. And behind there is a lot of work and a lot of thinking and a lot of meetings to then have indicators which, of course, are figures in the reports, but behind this there are various initiatives, and these indicators can be positive, like a positive turnover, but behind this there are approaches and strategies. Of course, the company tries to make the employees loyal as much as possible, but of course there are also people who may leave, and then of course this is something we have to think through to understand what are the reasons for this, and that can in any case be a source of improvement. And also, this is another example, just to show you that there can be figures that are positive, but also negative. And so, for instance, in 2021, despite all the efforts, we had an accident, a work accident. And of course, in the sustainability report, we cannot hide negative aspects such as accidents, because this is something that the company needs to improve and think and discuss to implement improvements. So I believe that so we are a benefit company, but this is a new starting point, and the strength of Equalitas and being a benefit company can give us more insights and more improvements to try and then to improve the overall organization. Thank you, Carlotta Villa from Cantine Salceto. So behind the word sustainability, there is a lot of work and passion, months on end. Let's continue this journey, and we go to Sicily.
Yes, I think we should be going to Sicily with Mrs. Piccinini, who's in charge of quality assurance and food safety at Duca di Sala Paruta. Okay, if you want to give her a hand, do so. Okay, so you have the remote. Over to you. Well, you are the first Sicilian company that was certified by Equalitas. Yes, we're pioneering. Okay, so we're listening. We're very interested in listening to your presentation. We received the certification not long ago in 2020, and we really decided to do the effort because it was very hard for us to even welcome the auditors at the company. So thanks to Equalitas, we asked ourselves questions about our company focus. So we had to question that. We are a time-honored Sicilian winery. Our brands are Corvo and Duca di Sala Paruta. They were established in 1824, and they were created by Giuseppe Liata, the Duke of Sala Paruta. But there's another historical partner, Florio, and so the other brand was created in 1933. So we decided to capitalize on the history and culture of our beautiful island, Sicily. And so we turned to an association. We looked for an association to implement our projects. The association is called Le Vie dei Tesori. It's an association which has been in operation ever since 2006. What they do is they keep historical monuments, villas and mansions in the city of Palermo to keep them open for visitors. The association started in Palermo and then spread to the rest of Sicily, and from Messina to Catania to Syracuse. in order to make the cultural heritage which remains inaccessible to citizens or tourists for most of the year, and to keep them open. There's a festival of the Via dei Tesori in the month of October, which is ongoing now, which is when all these monuments are kept open, attracting tourists and citizens to the beauties of our land. Duca di Salaparuta stands for the history of Sicilian viticulture, and hence the collaboration with this no-profit, not-for-profit association. I mean, we thought it was ideal. It's hard for me to operate this remote. Okay, these are our cellars in Castellaccia, our barrel cellar. This is the Florio winery at Marsala. This is our barrel cellar, Marsala barrel cellar, where the Marsala ages. This is our historical wine library with bottles dating back to 1814. And here you see we're opening the doors of our wineries to the public at large so that people can become familiar with our history and our wines and everything that all the money we make during this festival will be used by Le Vie della Storia to keep promoting more activities. So here's a few pictures that are meant to encourage you to visit us during the month of October so that you can visit our beauties and support the beautiful monuments of Italy. This is the Cathedral of Palermo. It was built in 1185 by the Normans. This is another monument. This is the Casina Cinese, the Chinese villa, which was built by Ferdinand IV of Bourbon and Caroline of Austria, his wife. And it's been restorated and it's been reopened recently, and this is the botanical garden where we have this wonderful ficus plant which has been there for over 200 years. These are the San Ciro reservoirs that still supply Palermo, but that were built in back in 1894. These are the villas of Bagheria, the villas where the Palermo aristocracy would go on holiday, the Baroque villas that can now be visited in Bagheria, and this is Marsala, which recreates the connection with our area. So we think that the support to cultural heritage is an important part of sustainability, first and foremost ethical, not just cultural. And we're trying to make progress in that direction. Now, you know that you really made us want to visit Sicily. Well, that was the goal, and I'm waiting for you eagerly. So she'll welcome you at the airport. Now, have you heard about these wonderful stories? Now, President, thank you for giving me the opportunity to listen to all these beautiful stories. Let's give them a big hand. They're so deeply committed to embody the word sustainability. Obviously, the protagonists will also be attending the masterclass later today with a sustainable tasting. So thank you very much. I think it's time for a big round of applause for each of our panelists.
Antonio Capaldo, ecco lì che se ne va, purtroppo, alla dottoressa Carlotta Villa e alla dottoressa Claudia Piccinini. Grazie per averci raccontato le vostre pillole. Siamo stati abbastanza
Thank you for
veloci,
telling us about your pills.
Ha una foto di gruppo, ovviamente.
Okay, a family photo, yes, why not?
Presidente, che fa? Lei non viene?
President, please, you need to be in the picture.
Ma c'è il padrone di casa?
Where's the host? He just left. He's coming.
A questo punto? Certo, no, ci sono le conclusioni. Ovviamente poi riusciamo a fare... Allora, visto che ci sono le conclusioni, ma poi...
Of course, there will be conclusions, but I think Antonio Capaldo will have to leave. Now, please come here so we can take a picture together.
Prego, no, prego. Grazie. Allora, siamo arrivati alle conclusioni. Mi dica. Certo.
Time for the conclusions.
L'importante è che non vada via.
Yes, you should not leave.
Che fa? Vuole prima delle conclusioni
Okay,
finali?
before the final conclusions, will you take the microphone and say a few words about what we've been doing here?
Le conclusioni finali, abbiamo altri
Okay,
due
we're ready
ospiti.
for the final conclusions. We have 2 more guests. So, are you staying with us or what?
Presidente, che facciamo? Lo lasciamo qui?
President.
Va bene, allora.
Okay, let's give him a seat.
Ma io mi conformo assolutamente a...
I have no problem with that. I'll do whatever it takes. So, he is the president of the Milano Wine Week, Federico Gordini. So, the person who came up with this idea. Now, this is the 7th day of this event, and I'm starting to be pretty exhausted. But we're very happy. The Equalitas meeting has become part of the ritual of this event. It's now our 3rd year where we meet here, perhaps year 4, not 3, when everybody's convened here to talk about the advances in sustainability. But the years of the pandemic have been so hard that the memories of the first 2 years are becoming, very, very difficult to keep in mind. Anyway, in the course of time, I see that there is a broader and broader participation this year. There was a lot more room devoted to human and humane sustainability, labor sustainability, which has been constantly part of all the activities. I think that very interesting ideas have cropped up from what the companies have told us, and I think it's very important. Well, Sasha participated in another one of our events yesterday, and she spent a few words on how we can really change the entire value chain. So when a player like them ends up influencing the market and proposes choices that are all converging onto sustainability, then we are integrating in our value chains an absolute value. In their case, they're a monopolistic player on the market. So if you want to be in that market, you have to to comply with their requirements. And that's very important because that's how you change the world. I see Italy being very attentive. That needs to be credited on Equalitas and the wineries that decided to be certified. And I think that year after year, and this year we've also set up a tasting where part of the certified companies will be represented, and I think that this will become a trend more and more. And we need to convey the message increasingly to the final consumer, because this has to become a prerequisite also when we buy bottles. We're working very hard, as you can tell. In this venue where we welcome the business people in the wine industry. And we're working harder and harder to involve interested and willing consumers who will be paying increasingly more attention to this type of requirement than anything else. So we won't be interested in the future in not so much any longer in the pairings with game or lobsters that you don't have in your fridge, and will be increasingly interested not in the only in the sensory qualities, but in the ethical qualities of wine, so that we can expand and involve and circulate the word about sustainability, so that the consumers will recognize sustainability as a value in wine too. And this will really influence increasingly their current and future purchasing behaviors, because we need to combine this with the ability we have to communicate wine in a more accessible way. I have reiterated this again and again this week, that the world of wine is not communicating effectively to 99% of its users. Perhaps it does so for just 1% of its audience, the people who are in the trade or have a wine culture under their belt. But we need to think of the fact that wine needs to be a time for involvement, a moment, an opportunity for engaging people. So circulating the word among the public at large can make a big difference out in the market. Now we have a pretty big critical mass of companies that have chosen to become Equalitas certified, and so that's another opportunity to again popularize this value. And in the future, this will turn into a requirement when one buys and consumes wine. Okay. There are just a couple of days between now and the 16th, the end of the event, so hold on and keep going. Okay, we're ready for the final comment of the sustainability pills. I'm asking Laura Bettinelli to join me on stage. She is the representative of the agency that certifies the benefit wineries, Società Benefit. I'm really very happy to be here today, because the testimonials I've listened to have been very relevant, very interesting, and they have confirmed to me that we are really good at doing lots of things in every industry here in Italy. We sort of have a calling in terms of assessing the impact, understanding our impact. An entrepreneur, when they carry out their activities, they understand that they are doing something also for the area around them. So companies are one of the most important stakeholders in the local areas of Italy. And when the companies realize that that is their role too, miracles happen. Okay, I am someone who is accustomed to listening the stories of our members, and it's always stories that are authentic, genuine, because these stories are stories where their business coincides with sustainability. So for years, we've been exposed to this idea that perhaps the sustainability was just an extra. So you had to do business, and then you also could be sustainable. Of course, you had to comply with the laws, with the regulations, and the certifications would grant you a competitive edge. But then, in actual truth, when the entrepreneurs were telling their stories, this proved not to be true, that in the end, especially in small to medium enterprises, the spirit of Adriano Olivetti, just to mention a champion of sustainability, the spirit of Adriano Olivetti is something that really permeates our business world in Italy. Our association, Asso Benefit, publishes a newsletter where every time 10 new members are telling their stories. It's all incredible stories. People who have asked themselves a very responsible question: can I change something? Can I positively contribute to my area? And that is incredible. It is incredible because it's something that, leaves a lot of room for hope. Because the catastrophes that are around us, would not leave much room for hope. But now I'm reading the dailies and I keep all the clippings for the press review. And at 9 in the morning, my stomach already hurts. But it's good to know that there are so many people who, with a lot of engagement, commitment, and responsibility, wonder what they can do for the environment and the people who are working with them, and how they can leave a positive legacy to the world. Now, we work hard to support this at Asso Benefit. Ours is a very young association. It was founded 4 years ago after the passing of the law on benefit companies, so we're very young. And Italy is the first sovereign state that has a legislation that covers benefit companies. The model is American, but it was considered at the federal level in the US, while in Italy we can boast this leadership. Now, since we're often the mentors at the European level, the French came to visit, and they told us we'd like to learn more about this model. So we went to France and told about our model, and sometime later the French followed suit and created their own legislation in the matter. And then the Spanish did the same last July. But there are many countries in Europe, in the European Union, who've already shown their interest in this type of legislation. We've had contacts with Sweden, Scotland, and hopefully this will become an increasingly widespread system. Now, in terms of geographies, take South America. So in South America, there are many countries that are creating their own benefit legislation. Now, as an association of benefit companies, we want to be the home of those who choose to be a benefit company, and also to be a reference point for people who are sustainable and want to be sustainable really, genuinely. And this is why we have created education trainings and partnerships, such as the partnership with Equalitas. Okay, I shouldn't say that, but the history of Italian wine is a one that is fascinating to the entire world, and I shouldn't be telling this because I'm the latecomer here. I mean, we are capable of producing excellent products that are excellent because of their relationship to the environment, to the people, and that can change the perspective. It can really change the point of view and your attitude in the morning when you get up and have to think of the work you do, because that gives hope. I don't want to take more of your time because it's been a very intense morning, and then I needed to leave the floor to my colleague here. So I'm just what I would like to tell you is that I'm really willing and ready to listen again to your stories and provide directions and instructions if you want to learn more about what we do. Thank you very much, Laura Bettinelli of Asso Benefit. We're going to finish off with what people think about us abroad. Should we discover that together? So we have Sasha, Monique, and Vic with us. Vin Monopolet.
She doesn't speak Italian. How are you doing with English? Maybe they don't know that there is simultaneous translation. Magic. He says, I know 3 words only.
Allora, tutti a posto? Solo lei alla fine, tutta questa conclusione, no, ce n'è anche un altro, ecco, stiamo distribuendo, non abbiamo un altro, ce ne abbiamo ancora 2, chi lo vuole? Ne abbiamo tanti.
Okay, that's it.
Io la prendo?
I have everything here, he says. No, actually, I can understand English, though I don't speak it. So, welcome. That was easy. So, what is the perception of foreign countries, and in particular Norway, of the Italian wine supply chain in terms of quality of the end product and of the work conditions of the workers in this business?
La domanda l'ho fatta col microfono, certo, ovviamente, giustamente. Prego. Io arrivo sempre un attimo dopo.
Benissimo, allora qual è la percezione in Norvegia e anche poi l'aspetto della sostenibilità, quindi no? Mi è stato chiesto questo. Allora devo dire che innanzitutto noi adoriamo i vini italiani in Norvegia perché sono fatti con arte, con passione e sono fatti con tradizione, quindi questo è già grazie per l'applauso. E tutte le bottiglie di vino, quindi ogni 3 bottiglie di vino che di Vinmonopola in Norvegia è un vino italiano, quindi una bottiglia su 3 è vino italiano e quindi avete dei prodotti bellissimi e siete vendete molto in Norvegia e quello che vediamo è anche l'impatto della certificazione come Equalitas sul fatto di implementare la sostenibilità in questo mercato così importante. Io ho preso molti appunti ascoltando gli oratori questa mattina e volevo appunto parlarvi a che punto siamo noi e anche cosa pensiamo di fare in futuro, perché in Norvegia a noi piace sempre essere i primi, soprattutto i nostri politici vogliono essere primi e anche noi abbiamo una nuova legge tale per cui che probabilmente anche voi tra 2 anni avrete la legge della due diligence per i diritti umani, anche voi ce l'avrete tra 2 anni. Io ho visto anche vari produttori, non sono solo stata qua alla Milano Wine Week, sono stata in Piemonte e uno era certificato Equalitas e mi ha detto, e vi dico cosa mi ha detto, la produzione sostenibile ha un impatto positivo sul mio business, quindi non è solo una questione di certificazione per sé, ma porta proprio un cambiamento nella mia azienda nuovo, e questa è una musica per me, è bellissimo ascoltare questo perché ti prendi cura delle persone, dell'ambiente, diventi sostenibile da un punto di vista economico-finanziario, e questo è positivo per te e per la tua azienda. Quindi questo era un commento che volevo condividere con voi, che appunto ho sentito da un produttore. E le buone pratiche di sostenibilità, come avete dimostrato oggi, ci danno veramente molta ispirazione anche per pensare al futuro, e vediamo che non si può più separare dalla sfera etica, quindi è anche importante tener conto delle persone, di aver cura delle persone, è diventato ormai una parte integrante delle nostre aziende e della gestione dei nostri prodotti. E ci sono i progetti, 6 progetti che avete raccontato oggi sono una testimonianza di questo. Noi in Norvegia appunto apprezziamo tutti gli sforzi fatti dalle aziende come le vostre, e lavoriamo anche con gli altri monopoli norvegesi sulla sostenibilità, quindi per parlare degli aspetti economici, ambientali, e anche tutto l'aspetto dei diritti umani e delle condizioni di lavoro, perché i prodotti che vendiamo sono fatti da persone che devono essere trattati con dignità e che devono avere una vita decorosa. E oggi vi vorrei dire che noi come monopolio stiamo lanciando una roadmap, un progetto, un percorso per lavorare strategicamente per fare in modo che vengano protetti i diritti umani nella nostra filiera, e anche con alcune iniziative ambientali che appunto di cui parlerò con Equalitas, e spero che vi daranno informazioni nella loro newsletter del nostro progetto. Ad esempio oggi mi sono iscritti di pensare a se stessi ma pensare anche agli altri. Secondo me è stato bellissimo sentire questa frase, perché dobbiamo stabilire delle priorità, quindi le priorità delle azioni che si implementano, e proprio perché le persone e le nostre aziende hanno un impatto sulle persone, e noi come monopolio dei paesi nordici dobbiamo andare a vedere quali sono i rischi nella nostra filiera in futuro, e con questa nuova legge sulla trasparenza che è stata implementata il 1° luglio, dobbiamo fare proprio una relazione relativa ai rischi nella filiera, relativa ai diritti umani oppure possibili abusi, e anche siamo obbligati a prevenire e mitigare qualsiasi tipo di situazione di questo genere che può verificarsi all'interno della nostra filiera. Quindi noi come retailer, come commercianti, dobbiamo anche occuparci di quello che accade nella produzione, quindi non solo nei nostri negozi, nei nostri punti vendita, e quindi ci cambia il modo di lavorare in futuro. E Equalitas è stato un partner molto importante nella sfera italiana per noi, non solo per la minimizzazione dei rischi, ma anche per imparare come attivare un buon dialogo con tutti gli stakeholder nella filiera. E voglio anche dire che questa legge che è entrata in vigore ci obbliga a fare le relazioni, a fare i report, e quindi se ci chiedono come gestiti la supply chain per questo prodotto, oppure come accade, non so, ad esempio in Libano per quanto riguarda i diritti umani dei vostri prodotti, se non rispondiamo saremo multati dallo Stato norvegese. Quindi questa legge può fare un salto di livello all'importanza di questi temi, quindi dobbiamo valutare i rischi principali, che di solito sono legati ai migranti e le donne, che sono dei soggetti più vulnerabili, e in particolare lavorando appunto sul report dell'Oxfam che è stato fatto per Sustainable Africa, con cui lavoriamo per i diritti umani, abbiamo valutato proprio come potevamo implementare delle azioni per affrontare questo problema. E un modo è quello di ascoltare i lavoratori, quindi dar loro una voce, e l'azienda Salchetto l'ha detto, è importante avere un feedback, un riscontro dalle persone che lavorano per voi, e abbiamo scritto un progetto che si chiama Direct Worker Reporting su 12 prodotti che vendiamo, e Annalisa, che è là in fondo, responsabile di questo progetto che gestiamo e appunto i lavoratori possono dare un feedback anonimo sulle loro condizioni di lavoro e devo dire che gli italiani hanno dato un ottimo punteggio e questo dà comunque l'opportunità a tutti i produttori di avere un riscontro anonimo e anche ai lavoratori, sia i lavoratori hanno l'opportunità di dare il loro riscontro e fare in modo che si verifichino dei cambiamenti. Potete parlare con Annalisa che parla italiano se volete maggiori informazioni, e anche noi cerchiamo di dare training, formazione su come evitare lo sfruttamento dei lavoratori e anche in tutta la filiera, soprattutto a livello agricolo, e qui abbiamo lavorato con un'organizzazione che si chiama Stronger Together, ma anche degli stakeholder locali come possono essere Equalitas, e quindi Stefano e Laura ci avete aiutato tantissimo con l'input che ci avete dato per questo progetto e continueremo con questo progetto nel 2023, quindi non riguarda solo la Norvegia. Quindi in realtà si meritano ben più di un applauso perché hanno fatto un grandissimo lavoro, grazie ancora. Quindi organizzeremo ancora di più queste formazioni gratuite anche nel 2023 e poi ancora dimostrare che bisogna lavorare insieme in aree che possono essere a rischio, dove la legge ci obbliga ad aiutare appunto le persone più vulnerabili, fa davvero la differenza. E è stato bellissimo ascoltare i progetti oggi perché anche voi vi siete occupati dei soggetti più vulnerabili nelle vostre aziende. Quindi grazie per l'ispirazione, il lavoro che avete fatto e anche in futuro potreste rendervi conto che magari da 2 anni molte più aziende vi chiederanno di dire cosa fate nella vostra filiera e dovrete raccontare questi progetti, quindi adesso avete lavorato molto per conto vostro, ma poi magari anche appunto i commercianti e le catene di distribuzione vi chiederanno delle informazioni sulla filiera e questo andrà a cambiare proprio la gestione della sostenibilità. Ed infine vorrei dire grazie e forse ho parlato più tempo di quello che avevo a disposizione. Perfetto. Ma resterò qui ancora qualche minuto, se avete domande non esitate a contattarmi o chiedete ad Annalisa se volete conoscere il nostro Direct Worker Reporting. Naturalmente lavoriamo anche con Equalitas per le formazioni sullo sfruttamento. Penso che metterete informazioni sulla newsletter presto, no? Grazie mille. Keep speaking well about Italy. So as you have seen, I haven't used the simultaneous translation. I'm joking. So, dear President, can we draw some conclusions together? Yes, definitely. So our dream is to land on the moon, as John Fitzgerald Kennedy said, because this will open up an ocean of new discoveries. So that was the rest of his speech. And I think that today you have understood that there is a full big ocean of opportunities, of knowledge and human discoveries which we have in front of us. And you've heard that from some protagonists, just some of the protagonists. You heard that from people who take care of benefit companies, and Equalitas has an agreement with them so that we become a sort of yardstick, a sort of metric to measure the access to the admission for being a benefit company. And you heard it from one of the protagonists of the international market of grand monopolies, large monopolies. And so this is the big ocean that we've tried to discover, and that will certainly give us even more and more surprises. I am very convinced of that. Thank you very much, Riccardo Ricci, for giving us the possibility to listen to these great stories, and thank you for all what you're doing for sustainability. I'd like to thank you all the protagonists, the host, Federico Gardini, who Gordini, who has left, I guess, is very busy. And thank you all for staying until the end. You deserve a round of applause. And now the time has come for tasting what? So, tasting some sustainability. Federico is here, he was hiding in the back. And where is this tasting? First floor, so we have to go to the first floor to Sala Colonne. And I would like to thank the technical staff, the simultaneous translator, and all of you. Thank you very much for your work. And so we continue our day. And so cheers to anyone. And thank you for coordinating us. It was an honor and pleasure. The stories were great. Thank you. Thank you. See you next year. See you later.